This kick can decide it all. The nation holds its breath. Yes,
Welcome back to the podcast, and thanks for listening. Today we're talking about an amazing name here, Cristiano Fitzgerald. Couldn't get more international, couldn't get more Irish. He's a 19-year-old forward, and what a journey he's had already in his life, both professionally and just his family background / life to date. Born in Singapore, he moved to England at a couple of years of age. Then he went to the US, then back to Singapore, then to Portugal, then back to the US, then back to Portugal as a 16-year-old. And that's where he started his career really in earnest with Boavista. But the start already had been laid down during his travels. The name is obviously very glitzy, very glamorous, named after, yeah, you guessed it, Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, who else? Who had just signed for Man United when he was about to be born. A team his father supported somewhat. I'm not sure his father was a big football fan, but he was watching Man United that day and he saw Cristiano Ronaldo on his debut, thought the name was great, thought the player was great, obviously caught his eye, and suggested to his wife, let's name our kid Cristiano. I presume she went along with it. Well, obviously she went along with it, I presume. She was in favour of it. If I tried that, my wife wouldn't really get away with it. Calling my kid Maradona or something. But anyway, you know, it obviously is a great name. So, yeah, it's already been named after a global superstar, arguably the best player in the world. Not then, not now, but for a period in his career. So it's weird as well that Cristiano Fitzgerald is a similar type of player, as in he's speedy, his speed, position, starting off in Portugal. Although he doesn't class himself as Portuguese, he does have that Portuguese background. And none of that would have been known before he was born. So if he turns into a superstar, you know, it'd be kind of like Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury was named after Mike Tyson. So if someone named after Cristiano Ronaldo turns into the best player in the world as well, would be amazing. Bit to the story, but anyway, there's a long way to go till he can ever be said to be on the same playing field as Ronaldo. But as I said, he starts his career at a serious level with Boavista, actually in 2017, as a 13-year-old until 2019. Then he went back to California with the Anza Force in 2019. That was due to his dad's work commitments. That's probably the reason they travelled all around the world. The fact that his dad was moving with travel. The guy himself said, it sounds great, but to be uprooted every now and then, changing football clubs, changing countries, changing schools, changing friends, I'm sure it was tough. But again, these all experiences that'll stand to him. So then back to Boavista in 2020 as a 16-year-old, and as I said in the very beginning, that's where his career started in earnest in their academy. In the summer of 2022, it was reported he was on trial at Dundee, who were interested in him for a while in Scotland, but this never actually happened as he got injured. So I don't think that was reported. It was reported he was already on trial, but it never actually materialised. In September 22, he signed professional terms then with Boavista. So they signed him up then a few months later, December, he signed another 3.5 year, better terms, obviously. So obviously he's one they rate very highly, they have plans for, and they're keen to stave off interest in an up-and-coming talented player and keep him at the club. Boavista currently 12th in the Portuguese top division, so they're not one of the better teams, but they're definitely not going anywhere from the top division. The mid-table team, I think there's about 18 teams in Portugal, so in the Portuguese top division, so yeah, they're nowhere near getting relegated or anything. Even so, that's obviously you want to play at the highest teams possible, but if you're trying to break into a side, it's better maybe to not be at a top side that has less opportunities to break in, and maybe a team like that in the middle of the table. Now, he hasn't got on the bench even, as far as I know, for the first team yet, but the groundwork is all there for him to have a good run at it. As I said, he's a very pacey player. He's clocked at 35 kilometres, and his immediate plans are to break into the Boavista first team squad in the remaining time that's left in this season and the year, and try and get as much first team minutes under his belt. He also wants to break into the Irish under 21s this year too. And yeah, so just as we're on the subject of on the international front, the guy has lots of options. His father is Irish, he has a French mother, so he considers those two his country, but to date and by all reports, he's considers Ireland as home, although he's never directly lived here for any amount of time. He spent summers in Limerick on a farm, his cousin's farm or his uncle's farm or whoever, I don't know, with his grandparents, I suppose. But so he has a connection with Ireland, and to him it was his dream to play for Ireland. Apparently he had a conversation as a young kid, 5 or 6, one of his friends, he'd forgotten about it, and his friend reminded him of it when he got capped for the Irish youth setup. So to date he's only represented Ireland, but he does have a multitude of chances to play international football. So at some point in his career, it's a safe bet he's going to play senior international football for someone. Who that is depends how his career goes and who he wants when he has options, if he has options, who he wants to play for. But he potentially qualifies for 6 countries. Ireland, France will be the main 2 runners. Ireland's the main runner at the moment. The US, England, Portugal, and Singapore through birth. Now, I haven't looked up Singapore in the rankings, but I imagine even at this moment in time, he could probably get to play for Singapore. So the worst case scenario, and no disrespect to Singapore, and I could be wrong, not up on Singapore football, but I'd imagine that will always be an option for him, no matter how his career pans out. But as I said, at the moment, his 2 countries are Ireland and France. That's who he sees, and he's not too far off the under-21s. If he can get a bit of minutes in the first team in Boavista or somewhere else, you'd imagine he's going to get under-21s, and then he's just that little bit more to go for an Irish senior cap. So far, it's been the only choice for the now 19-year-old who would appear. As long as Ireland are interested in him, treat him well, and he progresses through the levels, both at club and international level, that he will stick with Ireland. He has only represented Ireland internationally at the moment at under 19s level, but he hasn't represented anyone else. So far, Ireland are in the driving seat, and it's really Ireland's it'll be up to Ireland and the player. If Ireland if he does become someone and Ireland lose out on him, you know, no offence to whoever's in charge, but it'll be down to them, because at the moment they're in the driving seat. For the player himself, the fact he has been globetrotting around the world in his childhood until now will obviously mean he will not be restrictive in his views of options of playing football. So if it wasn't to work out at Boavista, for example, or if a better opportunity came from somewhere else, really the world literally is his oyster. He'd go anywhere because he's already been everywhere. There wouldn't be really any restrictions for someone like him either, because he's obviously got a European passport. He obviously US and Asia. I can't see where he couldn't go. So yeah, and again, he wouldn't be scared because he's done it his whole life. He's gone different places, fitted in. He's obviously multilingual as well, and the opportunities to him are endless, really. Just depends how high he can go, and where he wants to go. So again, hopefully he'll have a very long career in football. I'm sure he will, and it's been a very interesting journey story so far, and I'm sure the rest of his career will be interesting as well. And again, it's one I'm interested in, and we'll love to see where it pans out, how it pans out, and how high he can go. Anyway, thanks for listening. And if you like the podcast, send us a like, send us a comment if there's anyone you want us to talk about, and thanks for listening. Cheers.